everyone. This is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance.
This is Derrick Broze.
Derrick Broze.
Derrick Broze. This is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance.
I'm here in Standing Rock.
That man is wanted in 5 different countries: Chile, Argentina, Brazil.
We've been fighting a long time. We've all lost so very much. So many loved ones gone.
Don't you fucking tease that horse!
You are not alone. There are pockets of resistance all around the planet. We are at the brink. Above all, stay alive. You have no idea how important you are. If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
All right. Welcome to the Conscious Resistance Live. My name is Derrick Broze, and tonight is Saturday, September 19th, 2020, and I am in Morelia, Michoacan, Mexico. Bienvenidos. And super excited to be here, guys. Decided to do an episode of the Conscious Resistance Live. For those of you who follow me regularly, you know I do this infrequently. Decided to do an episode tonight because I have a new article that just came out for The Last American Vagabond that's really important, as well as another important story related to COVID-19, some of the funny numbers behind COVID-19 that I've been trying to track, as well as other journalists have been trying to track. And then I recently watched the documentary, The Social Dilemma, which some of you may have heard about. And I wanted to give my own personal review of the film. There's plenty of them out there, but I wanted to give it from my perspective as a journalist who's focused on surveillance technology and as somebody who's been telling people about the problems, the perils, the issues behind Facebook and Google, etc. Excuse me. So tonight we're going to talk about all that. And well, before we get into that, I want to tell you guys a few things that are going on behind the Conscious Resistance. First off, if you guys haven't, I do want to just emphasize to bookmark my website, theconsciousresistance.com. Let's take a look real quick. Theconsciousresistance.com. This is where you can get all of my content, my books. You can download for free. You can check out our documentaries for free. If you want to purchase them, you can do that. You can see all of our latest interviews, podcasts, like I said, the documentaries. And you can also find us on all these alternative social media platforms, which is more important than ever. So if you're on your computer right now, hit Control-D, and that'll bookmark our website right here for you. Save it on your phone however you can, and go visit these different alternative platforms. A lot of people are now questioning Facebook for one reason or another, censorship or some of the things we're going to talk about from The Social Dilemma, the effect it's having on our lives. And more people are looking for alternatives. And there are plenty of them out there. I don't use all of them. And some of that is just because I'm already spread thin. Sometimes it's just because I don't like the platform. So these are the ones that I've focused on and that I'm promoting. The first one is float.app, and you can click right here and get to the Conscious Resistance. You can also go to minds.com/the Conscious Resistance Network. I also use the Hive blockchain and post all of my articles, video reports, and things like that on Hive. I have a text list that you can sign up for right here, guys. And this, everybody who's on my text list, I hope it's not too late for those of you on the East Coast and later, you would have just got a text message that says live now with the title of this video and a link to the video. And that's, you don't have to depend on YouTube, Facebook, or whatever. You can find me automatically directly to your phone. Then over here, BitChute, all of my videos are backed up on BitChute, including the ones that have been deleted, like videos from Johan about COVID-19 and masks. Those are all on BitChute, as well as on Library, which I like Library because much like YouTube, for those of you who follow me on YouTube, you know that there's a community page, a community tab where I post my statuses like I post on Facebook and Telegram and elsewhere. But I can't really do that on BitChute, and I can't really do that on Hive. It's not really the same thing. I try to do it on Float and Minds and post the same thing I'm posting on all these platforms, and it takes a lot of time. But on Library, I can post links to my articles. I can post text statuses. I can post videos, and it's all saved on a blockchain, and I really appreciate that. So you can find our channel there. Finally, and then I'll wrap this part up. If you want to support me on patreon.com/Derrick Broze, you can do so. We're up to like $960, and I appreciate that. That's basically helping me commit to writing articles and doing investigations, and of course, working on my new project, which we're about to get into, the Pyramid of Power. So if you want to do that, please do that. And then over here, we have the Conscious Resistance Telegram channel. And I also have my personal Telegram channel. And I really, for those of you who are trying to keep up with my work and you don't want to be dependent on YouTube and all the platforms we just mentioned. And I recommend that because let me tell you guys, just a second, if I can pull this up, that I'm having problems with my YouTube channel right now. Like I've been locked out of my channel. I've only been able to do this by, I had to figure some stuff out, but it's giving me trouble with uploading videos. It's messing with my channel. There's a possibility that it could be a hack. It could be a potential that, it's just YouTube being YouTube. But the point is that it's something's going on with my account, and I don't want you to be dependent on YouTube and Facebook and all that, thinking that you're going to get all my work there. So what I'm showing you right here is my Telegram channel, Derrick Broze's Daily News. I post a lot of articles and content on here because I read a whole lot, and I don't necessarily, it's not convenient to post those on YouTube or Facebook and all that. I don't want to spam people all day, but I do read a lot. And I post all of my, just interesting things that I find, of my own articles as well as other content. If you're on Telegram, search Derrick Broze's Daily News. There's also a link to it below all the videos, wherever you're watching right now. You can find that if you care, want to see what I'm reading, what I'm up to. And yeah, so as I was just saying, I've been having trouble with the YouTube channel. Woke up today, I'm logged out of all my accounts. It's telling me my passwords are wrong. It's telling me it can't confirm who I am, and it won't let me in. I had to basically get in through some other methods, but my personal account under my email, I'm like locked out of it, and I don't know what's going on. So if that means something funky is going on with the channel, please remember that no matter what happens, if YouTube's ever deleted, if Facebook's ever deleted, I keep getting these bans and getting videos deleted. It's inevitable, it feels like. You can always go to theconsciousresistance.com, sign up for a newsletter, sign up for my text list, whatever. It's going to be more up to date than my social media anyway, so please do that. And in line with that, I do want to say that one other reason I want to do this show is just to let you guys know, for anybody who gives a crap and who pays attention to my channel and my journalism, that I am going to be trying to slow down, and that doesn't usually mean I do nothing. It just means slowing down a little bit on producing of weekly videos, because I'm focusing on my documentary right now. I'm focusing on the Pyramid of Power, and thank you to everybody who helped crowdfund and fundraise for the Pyramid of Power. It is going to be it's a 13-part series. It keeps growing, that I'm writing. I'm doing all the research, writing it, recording the narration, and then my partner, Jeremy Martin, who is a professional video editor in the UK. He is going to be continuing to work with me. He's done the 5G Trojan Horse, my Jeffrey Epstein documentary, my documentary on the Finders, my documentary on the surveillance state. Pretty much all of my mini documentaries and my full-length documentaries have been with Jeremy Martin. So we're going to be collaborating again for a 13-part series called The Pyramid of Power. Each episode is going to be about 20 minutes long at max. We're going to try to keep it simple and short, but present a lot of information, factual, sourced, backed up, and then of course provide solutions and suggestions for further reading, for videos and documentaries and books to check out related to the topics. And it's called The Pyramid of Power. So a lot of my time is going to be dedicated to that for the rest of September, to the rest of October, and maybe even for the rest of the year. So I will still be producing content and important reports when it's necessary. I will still be writing articles for The Last American Vagabond. But for those of you who follow my video work, if you don't see as much videos at the moment, that's because I'm going to be focusing on the Pyramid of Power. So I just wanted to make that clear to anybody who regularly follows me. And with that, I guess let's go ahead. If there's no other important comments, I'm checking out the comments right here, guys, and I appreciate all of you. Let me see. Richard says, Derrick, you are inspiration. Because of you, we are setting up peace pods where I live. I like that. Peace pods. Why don't you comment and let us know a little bit more about peace pods? What's up, Ferry? Thank you to everybody who's here. Steven says, thank you for everything you do. I appreciate that, and I appreciate all you guys who are here. And anybody who wants to connect with other people, like, for example, let's do this. Everybody who's listening right now, I can see people listening through Facebook, Float, and YouTube, and like several Facebook channels. Comment below what city you're listening in. And if you see other people listening from where you're listening from, connect with them. Or also, I recommend going to freedomcells.org and connecting with each other through that website, because that's a website and a platform that we've created and are promoting to help people find each other in the real world to create more freedom and liberty in our lives. Right? Does that sound good? Does that sound good? All right. Okay. So now we're going to get into COVID news. And surprise, guys, there's some news of COVID not necessarily adding up to what we are being told. I know you're all very blown away. You're astounded that this could possibly happen. Of course, I'm being facetious. For those of you who followed my work, especially on Last American Vagabond, you'll know that a few months back I wrote an article called The 5 Reasons Your Friends, and this was written more for a quote-unquote normie audience, and it was called 5 Reasons Your Friends Do Not Trust the COVID-19 Numbers. And that was basically the whole, the rundown of it. I just did like 5 selected stories that I'd found across international media with numbers of people's, deaths being counted that really weren't COVID deaths, and later that being changed. Just so many things like that. All right, well, I'm going to go get into the PCR test story first, and we're going to get into this Nashville thing, because the Nashville thing just is another clear example that governments right now want to push a certain agenda, and that is they want people to be afraid. And part of the way they keep people afraid is having people taking these tests and getting positive results, and so they believe that they are now could potentially be sick or infect others. And the test is called the PCR test. This is my article from thelastamericanvagabond.com. We titled it, "If the PCR test is unreliable, why are health officials demanding the public be tested?" As evidence mounts that the gold standard test for detecting COVID-19 is unreliable, and that's even if you believe it's doing that. But we're just going with that premise from the beginning. Why are health officials around the world calling for more tests? In the months since COVID-19 panic began, health authorities around the world have told the public to, quote, get tested to help track the spread of SARS-CoV-2. However, as fear and hysteria now start to subside, the scientific community and public at large are calling into question the efficacy of the test used to determine a patient's status. This article is a brief examination of the evidence that the PCR test is unreliable and should not be used as a determinant for the number of COVID-19 cases or as a factor in political decisions. And what I mean by that is, and this is something that Professor Carl Hennigan talks about in this article a few times, or in his recent work, is that whenever somebody is given a positive test status, that can prevent them from going to work. In some places, they can have to face forced quarantines. Sometimes they can be taken away from their families. And let's imagine in New Zealand, where they're putting people who are tested positive into quarantine centers. So that's a pretty big effect on your life. And, you know, it would stand to reason if there's problems with the test and there are going to be such harsh responses that we should know for certain that these tests are legit. You know, that's just kind of what we're getting at here. All right, so let's continue. Where we're at. Okay. It says, as evidence mounts, excuse me. Okay, this part right here, going into the second part of the article, this is something that those of you who've been following the conscious resistance the last couple of weeks, you may have seen my video report that I put out before I left Houston. I'm here in Mexico now, but before I left Houston, I attended a press conference on August 31st where the mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner, and the Houston Health Authority, Dr. David Pearce, were both present. And I asked them about some of the problems with the case numbers that have been going on in Texas. And that's kind of another story, but I've covered that in other reports if you want to check that out. And then in the hallway, I had a chance to ask Dr. David Pearce, who again is the Houston Health Authority, who's giving advice about COVID-19 as well as flu shots and all kinds of other things. I asked him about the PCR test and, you know, the fact that the test is so sensitive that some people say it could be picking up previous infections, dead virus. People say that, you know, it just magnifies genetic material and it can essentially be used to find something even if there isn't really something. It can basically confirm its own bias is one way to put it. So I started to ask Dr. David Pearce about these questions, and he conceded that, yeah, there were some problems. And this part is maybe a little bit too in the weeds for some people, but it's really important to just understand this one aspect, because I know some of you out there are ready to rush and have been since back in April. So this whole thing's fake. There's no viruses. It's all completely fake. And look, I've interviewed Dr. Andrew Kaufman, who believes in the exosomes and, terrain theory. And I definitely think there's something to terrain theory for sure. And I understand the history there. But my point is that I don't think this whole thing's fake. So even if it is, I won't proclaim that until I have the opportunity to find the evidence and back it up. And as time goes on, I continued to call out and write about these case numbers being misattributed to because of other reasons. Numbers being subtracted from the death count after they found there was some mistake. I mean, this has been quite abundant happening. And so I've kept up with these stories. And I wanted to get a chance to ask about the PCR test before I left Houston, because again, every time there's a press conference, the mayor and Dr. David Pearce, the Houston Health Authority, are telling people to get tested now, and they were complaining at the press conference I was at that the number of cases, it's interesting. They say the number of cases are going down, and coincidentally, the number of tests are going down, but they were like, that's not a good thing though, but it means that you can go and get tested really quickly because nobody's there. And so they're emphasizing the testing. And then at the same time, when I talked to Dr. David Pearce in the hallway, he admits that there are these problems with the PCR test. And so my point with saying all that is there are legitimate problems with the PCR test. And I've found evidence of that. And now I've asked health officials in Houston, and now that is being confirmed on the international level in the UK, as I'm going to show you guys. So Dr. Peirce says that when the labs that are doing the testing report numbers of COVID-19 cases to the city of Houston, they only offer a binary option of a yes for positive or no for negative. And he says, quote, in reality, it comes in what is called cycle thresholds. It's an inverse relationship. So the higher the number, the less virus there was in the initial sample. He continues, some labs will report out 40 cycle thresholds. And if they get a positive at 40, which means there is a tiny, 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 tiny amount of virus there, that gets reported to us as positive, and we don't know any different. And he continues, because if you test me and if I have a tiny amount of virus, does that mean I'm contagious, that I am still infectious to someone else? If you are shedding a little bit of virus, are you just starting, meaning did you just get sick, or are you on the downside? And, you know, he calls for there to be an international or a national standard of the cycle threshold. So this is even now in the mainstream. Of course, most the health officials are just totally ignoring it. But like here in this conversation, he admits to me, yeah, there's a problem with the yes or no binary thing. And are the labs taking it at a high cycle threshold that is basically meaningless because it means there's a tiny, tiny trace of something that might have been in you that could be from a previous infection. And so I'm excited that I was able to ask this question because it's extremely important, and I don't see anybody else doing on the ground local reporting. And then if you see where this article goes next, UK Parliament and scientists also have concerns about the PCR test. So is this making sense? Are you guys getting this? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear this and if everything sounds good. Just want to make sure that you guys understand, what I'm going through, because I know that there's a lot of discussion around the PCR test and Koch's postulates and, what's real and what's fake and all this. But I just want to understand that there are legitimate questions. So if you're trying to convince or have a discussion with your normie, whatever, friends and family who aren't just going to listen to you yell, yeah, it's a pandemic, and then be convinced, this is something you can bring to them. This is factual data. And as I'm about to show you here in the UK Parliament discussion, we have Professor Carl Hennigan, he's been involved in a new study about the PCR test. There's multiple new studies that have just come out. He just testified in front of the UK Parliament on Thursday. I'm going to show you guys a clip of that. I think I have that. Let me see if I can find that. And so just to show you, there is real legit reasons to be questioning COVID. You don't have to look like a crazy person by just shouting, it's fake, nobody's dead, or whatever. And I'm just critical sometimes because I think that we as individuals who care about the truth could do a better job to try to reach the people we care about if we legitimately are trying to reach them. And if we're not just trying to gloat and act like, look at us, look at us and our big egos, we've got it all figured out, we're the enlightened ones, those silly, stupid sheeple statists, whatever. The point here is that if your goal is to try to reach people as mine is, and you want to grow this movement of conscious awareness and of breaking free of these systems, then perhaps the messaging and the effort you put into the messaging needs to reflect those desires. So instead of just being dismissive or talking down to people, make an effort. Okay, how can I really reach them? Which documentary that I can see is going to be most likely to convince a quote unquote normie audience? And I don't mean that in any sort of derogatory way. Somebody who's not of the conspiracy or freedom or anarchist, whatever spiritual minded movements that are sort of intersecting here. Somebody who's sort of outside of that. The point is that we have to make an effort to try to reach them. I believe, this is just my suggestions, planting seeds. Do what you want with them. All right, exactly. Represent the position better. So here we go. In the first weeks of September, a number of important revelations regarding the PCR test have come to light. First, new research from the University of Oxford Centre for Evidence-Based Medicine and the University of the West of England found that the PCR test poses the potential for false positives when testing for COVID-19. Professor Carl Hennigan, one of the authors of the study, Viral Cultures for COVID-19 Infectivity Assessment, it was a systematic review, said there was a risk that an increase in testing in the UK will lead to an increase in the risk of sample contamination and thus an increase in COVID-19 cases. Not an increase in deaths, but an increase in testing could lead to a spike in cases. The team reviewed evidence from 25 studies where virus specimens had positive PCR tests. And this assumes, again, that these 25 studies had isolated the virus. And I know there's some people who contest that fact. And I think there's some interesting debates to be had there. So perhaps you might want to go look at this systematic review and look at the 25 studies they examined and see if those studies themselves even were able to isolate it. Just another field of research. But these 25 studies where virus specimens had positive PCR tests. The researchers stated that genetic photocopying techniques scientists that the scientists used to magnify the sample of genetic material, which is what the PCR test, it is a genetic photocopy magnifying genetic material, is so sensitive it could be picking up fragments of dead virus from previous infections, which is what I asked Dr. Pearce in Houston. The researchers reach a similar conclusion as Dr. Pearce. Quote, this is from the UK researchers, a binary yes-no approach to the interpretation of the RT-PCR unvalidated against viral culture will result in false positives with segregation of large numbers of people who are no longer infectious and hence not a threat to public health. And it should be noted that Professor Carl Hennigan is also the editor of the BMJ Evidence-Based Medicine Scientific Journal. And he told the BBC again that the binary approach is a problem and the test should have a cutoff point so small amount of virus do not lead to a positive result. This is because of the cycle threshold mentioned by Dr. Pearce. A person who is shedding an active virus and someone who has leftover infection could both receive the same positive test result. He also stated that the test could be detecting old virus, which would explain the rise in cases in the UK. Hennigan also stated that setting a standard for the cycle threshold would eliminate quarantining and contact tracing of people who are healthy and help the public better understand the true nature. And I just go on here. I'm not going to read the whole article, but I definitely suggest you read it because there's more to it. There's just overwhelming evidence. And I point out to a number of studies and statements and even more research on the PCR test and the false positives. And I mean, it's not that this is not unknown to people. It's known to people in the field, and it's not like it's just coming to light, but it's coming to light again because the public is hearing about PCR tests in relation to COVID-19. And I personally think that poking a hole in the quality and the reliability of these tests is an important strategy when it comes to dealing with everything going on with COVID. If you can help people understand that these tests are not accurate and that, and not to say that they can't be accurate. I don't want to say they're just totally useless because that's not what appears to be the case, but that they are extremely sensitive, that they can pick up dead virus, and that in the situations that we have going on right now, it could be leading to an increase in false positives, and then that leads to lockdowns and businesses being shut down and all that kinds of stuff. So the point here is, I think this is a weakness in the overall COVID-19 narrative, and if you're trying to poke a hole in that and provide that to your social media friends or your real world friends and family, this is a time to do that. This is an opportunity to do that. So please go read my article at thelastamericanvagabond.com. It's the first article. If the PCR test is unreliable, why are health officials demanding the public be tested? Please, please, please go read that article and share it out there because I put some time into it. And I think that you guys will not only enjoy the information and the knowledge in it, but that you will be able to share that and hopefully have some success with your friends and family. Okay, so now we're going to go to... Okay, so it's the craziest thing, guys. I have to show you this. I'm searching. We're going to do this live, right? I'm searching for this other story that is related to the coronavirus, COVID-19, that I found in Nashville. Excuse me. And I'll just show you this. So this is on my Telegram channel. I posted this. More revelations of funny COVID-19 numbers games. And this is from Fox 17 and Nashville, Tennessee, WZTV. The coronavirus cases on Lower Broadway may have been so low that the mayor's office and the Metro Health Department decided to keep it secret. Emails between the mayor's senior advisor and the health department reveal only a partial picture, but what they reveal is disturbing. The discussion involves the low number of coronavirus cases emerging from bars and restaurants and how to handle that. And most disturbingly, how to keep it from the public. So let's pause there. This local news station got copies of emails between the mayor's senior advisor and the health department saying that they wanted to keep some information from the public because the cases coming from bars and restaurants, what they have enforcing shutdowns on, was so low. So on June 30th, contact tracing was giving a small view of coronavirus clusters. Construction and nursing homes were found to be causing problems with more than 1,000 cases traced to each category, but bars and restaurants reported just 22 cases. Leslie Waller from the health department asks in one of the emails, this isn't going to be public released, right? Just info for the mayor's office? ? I mean, think about that. Of course, like they just the public, these public servants, they thrive on secrecy and darkness. And then the senior advisor from the mayor's office, Benjamin Eagle, says, correct, not for public consumption, assuring her that, like, yeah, don't worry, nobody's reading this. But thankfully, some journalists chose to go ahead and file open records requests. So then look, That's from my Telegram channel. I copied the link, and I wanted to show you guys the actual article here. So let me show you guys what happened. It appears like it's been deleted. Let's 1 second. We're going to try to go to this link. I don't know, maybe something's just not working on my screen, but as far as I can tell, that article that I was trying to show you guys, this Nashville thing, is no longer, look, now we're getting an error. 404 is not showing up, page not found. Let's see, what should we search? Emails, COVID-19, mayor's office. Let's see if we get a hit on that. It would be really weird if that just decided to take that down for some reason. All I'm getting is update, more local communities pass COVID-19 restrictions. I don't know. I'll have to look for it again later. Maybe one of you guys can look for it and find it. But it was definitely a story. I posted that on my Telegram just 2 days ago. Yeah, just a couple days ago. And now the link's gone. Maybe there was an update. Maybe something else happened. I don't know. But there was a story saying that there were emails from the Nashville mayor's office trying to keep it secret that they had low amount of cases related to bars and restaurants because they didn't want the public to know. And my point with that is that, look, there's just so many examples. I have that article that I mentioned, 5 reasons your friends don't trust the COVID-19 case numbers. It's because there's all kinds of BS games taking place and being played in front of us and around us. And most of it is so hard for people to keep up that they're just exhausted. They're confused. They don't know what to believe. And I understand that. I'm trying to keep up and report on it and also not exhaust myself with trying to understand, what the heck is going on. Yeah, somebody said save everything, as James says. That article probably is on archive.org. We could go check that out if you guys want to. Just search for that. It was Nashville emails, COVID-19, mayor's office. We should be able to find it. So that's all I got to say about COVID-19 for right now, other than to say that you guys know the drill. The tyranny, the authoritarianism that I described, and I don't even think I've done a video on this yet, but I know Ryan covered it, and I did an interview with Ryan about this. My other recent article about the theory called parasite stress theory, which is basically kind of a psychological theory that we know for sure at least one person involved with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was involved in the research, and there's been dozens of studies since the 1970s that have shown that whenever there is a threat of a pandemic or a pathogen spread, whether real or imagined, that the people tend to allow for governments, for more authoritarian governments, as well as accepting and preferring obedience and conformity and these kinds of things. And so here, let me show you guys on screen. I really want you guys to go check this out. This is from my author page on thelastamericanvagabond.com. It's just thelastamericanvagabond.com/author/Derrick-Broze. And so you can see all my recent articles, including the one on the PCR test, my 9/11 article, if you didn't read that. And then this one, The Rise of Authoritarianism from Parasite Stress Theory to Lockstep. It's a 2-part article, part of this other one here. Multiple studies predicted governments become authoritarian in response to pandemics. I really, really recommend you guys reading these articles. I'm not going to go into it now, but my point is to say, if you want to understand why we're seeing places like New Zealand and Australia, the US, UK, India, and elsewhere become more authoritarian, starting to go door to door for health checks in this biosecurity state, and you want to understand the psychology behind it, you need to understand parasite stress theory. And I recommend reading those articles to get more of that. And that's pretty much all I want to say on COVID. Guys, it's going to get worse before it gets better. I put out a recent clip the other day from Freethinker Radio called "Are You Prepared for a Dark Winter?" I will be doing an official report looking deeper into the dark winter exercise that took place before 9/11, how we're hearing in the media this phrase dark winter, the second wave, the various exercises and simulations that have taken place showing that potential civil war and chaos could break out during the upcoming election. I think that, there's no reason to live in fear, but there is a good reason to be prepared for any kind of, turmoil that could take place. And that's just being wise. It's not being paranoid or being crazy at all. Personally, my feeling has been I don't want to be in the United States during the election because I know elections are a great time to divide people, but there's also seems to be chaos planned for this coming year. So, all right, guys, let's continue now with our discussion. Now, I watched this documentary the other day. Some of you may have heard of it. It's called The Social Dilemma. I'll show you guys the Wikipedia page. The Social Dilemma is a 2020 American docudrama directed by Jeff Orlowski, and written by him and some other people. It explores the rise of social media and the damage it has caused to society, focusing on its exploitation of users for financial gain through surveillance capitalism and data mining, how its design is meant to nurture an addiction, its use in politics, its impact on mental health, including the mental health of adolescents and rising teen suicide rates, and here we go, its role in spreading conspiracy theories and aiding groups such as flat earthers and white supremacists. The film features interviews with former Google design ethicist and Center for Humane Technology co-founder Tristan Harris, who I think is a great speaker on this topic and has a lot of important information to offer. His fellow Center for Humane Technology co-founder Asa Raskin, Asana co-founder and Facebook like button co-creator Justin Rosenstein, and a bunch of other different people who basically have played roles in one way or another with different Silicon Valley tech companies over the last decade or so. And it premiered at the Sundance Festival earlier this year in 2020, and then it premiered on Netflix just like a week and a half ago. So that's some background on that. You can go watch it for free on various pirating sites if you want to, SockShare and things like that. You didn't hear that from me. If you want to check it out. Now, I want to share my thoughts on this. First of all, like, for one, this is a topic that does deserve more attention. And the fact that it's on Netflix means it's going to get watched by a lot of people. And that's important to get people questioning the status of social media, not just Facebook itself, but there is something that I want to point out, that a lot of the problems that they mentioned there and that I'm going to go over here, the mental health problems, the feelings of it, it's an addiction, except that many of us are addicted to the interactions that we have, the stimulation, the cortisol that's released, and the oxytocin and the dopamine that we get from likes and interactions, and there's all that. Like, I can feel it when it's like flowing through me and my jaw's starting to tighten up, and it's like, whoa, it's getting me high in a way, right? There is an element of addictiveness to the internet for some of us, and particularly for social media. Facebook and these others are designed to be that way, to be addictive, to keep you coming back, and to keep you got the constant phone with the notifications that's like interrupting your life and keeping you plugged in and pulling you away from being present. And then of course, clearly there are positives to technology as well, digital technology, before somebody's like, oh, but you're on, Facebook right now, you're on YouTube right now. I get that. We're here to talk about the problems. Clearly we understand the benefits of it. I've been saying this for years. I've been pointing this out for years, telling people not only are these companies, Google, Facebook, and others, not ethical and not aligned with the values that I believe in, that I think most of you are supportive of. These companies generally go against our values and our principles and the things we care about. So that's one thing. But then also, they're spying on us, they're monitoring us, they're just making money off of us, and they're addicting us. And then they're creating profiles, which they're feeding into AI. They're feeding information to government. I mean, it's just, and if you've got a Google account and you carry your phone with you everywhere you go, since you've had that, since you were in high school and you first opened up a Google account for YouTube or whatever, they have every location you've ever been. They know wherever you've been. Maybe you say, well, I don't care where I go, till you start thinking about how much your routine and your behavior tells people about your life. And the point is that we're supposed to have some level of privacy. In many ways, we are giving up our own privacy by, submitting to the terms of service and things like that. But this conversation is about becoming more aware of that. So I've spent years trying to tell people to leave Facebook, and I realized how addicted people are to Facebook, that people would be like, please don't leave Facebook. I would say, look, I'm still going to be doing the exact same thing, but over here on these other websites with 20 other options, and some people would stay. And I get to some degree that when you go from Facebook to Minds and there's you don't have any friends yet and it's just quiet, it doesn't feel the same. You want that interaction, you want that stimulation. And yes, it's because we've become used to it and addicted to it in some ways. And, it can be destructive. It can be draining. People talk about coming away feeling like they wasted time, like jealous and insecure and these kinds of things. And some of you might be hearing this and thinking, it's just Facebook, dude, it's just YouTube, whatever. But many of us use it on a daily basis to interact with people, to consume content, to create content, to make a living, to produce, to sell our business and whatever it may be, for journalism. I mean, there's a lot that goes into doing this, and running social media, running emails, producing content. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and it can become like an all-consuming thing. So I totally understand that. The documentary does a good job in pointing that out and having that conversation. And so on that, I commend it, and I definitely highly recommend checking it out. And we're going to just show a little bit more here on the screen here. There's a few other, you can find all kinds of reviews. What I want to focus on, like this from CNBC says, Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma, prompts social media users to rethink Facebook, Instagram, and others. And that's kind of just the summary there, right there. Then this is interesting. It says 11 things you can do to stop being manipulated by your phone, according to the tech experts on Social Dilemma. And this is one of them here that you can see here. And we'll just go through and read a couple of these. I think a few of these are worth reading. Some of them are just like, yeah, whatever. Don't click on videos or posts that are recommended to you, because that's feeding the algorithm and it's teaching them things about you. It's learning. This thing is constantly, the algorithm, the computer programs are constantly learning about you. And as we get more and more to AI, they're learning and creating profiles on all of us. And we really need to consider the implications. This one says to install a Chrome extension. I think we can do better than that. Don't use Chrome. How about that? Turn off notifications on apps that aren't pinging you with important or timely information. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine going on a walk without your phone and not having the notification every 5 minutes when somebody smiles or likes or posts or does whatever on Instagram or chat or whatever, TikTok and all the things. Just think about that. It's not just about the spying and the monitoring and the government collaboration with corporate finance and the NSA funding and the CIA seed funding through Incatel to Facebook and Google and all that. Those are important parts of this equation, but it's also that it's a mental health, it's a spiritual thing, I think, the way that it's affecting us. This one, uninstall apps that you don't use or that you feel are wasting your time. Making some, I think, honest choices about the way you're using your technology. Don't use Google, use an alternative search engine. That's perfectly good. Before you share a piece of content online, fact check, consider the source, do that extra Google. Of course, it's so funny right there. They're like, the one thing's like, don't use Google, use an alternative search engine. Then the next person is like, before you share something, make sure you Google it again. And it's just funny. We're going to get into that because, again, despite the positives, there's also some propaganda in this film. Don't click on clickbait. Of course, who defines that? Follow people on social media that you don't agree with. And I think that's important too. That is definitely important. Check out all kinds of sources and resources. Don't let your kids use social media. Probably a pretty smart idea to some degree as well. And leave all of your devices outside the bedroom at a fixed time each night. That is perfect. Keep your computers and your phones out of there. Unplug your Wi-Fi at night. Another thing, not only because the EMFs affect your ability to sleep, they affect your melatonin production, which affects your body's ability to heal at night. I mean, these are all really important. Delete your social media account can lead to progress. So some nice suggestions there. I would also say, as relates to propaganda, that the Social Dilemma, when it gets to the topic of fake news, of course, it says people who believe that vaccines are harmful. And it's a current documentary, so it's talking about people who question COVID and lockdowns and masks, that, they're fake news and there's all this bad information, what they call in the mainstream, the infodemic. And it's spreading. And how can we stop social media from spreading these fake conspiracy theories? So there's some of that propaganda in there as well. And also, to me, the other propaganda, or you could just call it misguided, is that the solution to the problem is more government, that we need the government to get involved in regulating the social media companies. And that's not going to fix things. I don't know what the perfect answer is. These companies are massive, and they have so much data on us, and they know so much about us and who we are, that it's insane. It's creepy. And they're infiltrated into so many aspects of our lives that people can't even imagine living without these institutions and these programs and these networks. So it's a really scary thing when you really stop and think about that. But there are alternatives. I went over a bunch of them at the beginning of this video. Go to theconsciousresistance.com. You can see our little icons to the right side, and you can see other platforms that I'm on. I also want to show you guys this. This is another really cool resource, in case you haven't seen this. For those of you who are trying to avoid not only social media like Facebook and stuff like that, but the Google products, go to nomoregoogle.com. And it's privacy-friendly alternatives for Google that don't track you. And it's Google, so alternatives to the browser, Chrome, alternatives to Google Search, alternatives to Google Passwords, Analytics, Mail, Docs, Sheets, YouTube, Web Maps, AdWords, Authenticator, Blogger, and on and on and on. All these different alternatives. And there is another one. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I can't find it right now. I'll post it later. But there's more websites like that that show you alternative browsers and just search engines, Google Drive, all the kinds of different things, but just so you don't have to be using those companies. And I do want to show you one more thing, guys, in relation to this, that I've been putting out video content telling people to use alternative platforms because the censorship started in 2016 when Donald Trump came into office, and this whole fake news meme was used as a way to divide the people and think that, oh, right-wing news is all fake. Oh, left-wing news is all fake. Or, oh, those alternative independent media, they're just conspiracies. They're all fake. Let's deplatform. Let's defund them. Let's get rid of them and delete them off social media. And in the last 4 years, we have been destroyed. So we've been telling people to get off these platforms and to follow us elsewhere because we knew these purges were coming. And many of you didn't listen, or you didn't really care. I don't know. But we've been telling people for a while, to the point that I want to show you this. This is an article I wrote in 2017, 3 years ago. Why are we still using Facebook? And Facebook acknowledged that multiple studies have already confirmed the social network has a tendency to make users depressed, stressed, and envious. And I just go through a number of different studies that have happened since at least 2013. And again, these studies are unique to Facebook. Like, they compared people's experience on the regular internet and then on Facebook, and it was the problems, the emotional mood problems tended to be specific to people who are using Facebook, not just to, oh, we're online too much. It's like something about Facebook and the way it's designed, and of course Instagram and others now. But the point is, we have known these facts for some time. Now there's this new documentary. It's giving people some partial truth, but it's basically saying government's the answer. And then it's also saying that, like, the stuff that we talk about is just conspiracy theories that we need to figure out a way to stop it from spreading on social media. So it's got some interesting things in there, but there's also propaganda mixed in, as to be expected. But the question is legitimate. Why are you still using Facebook? Why are some of you who are watching this video watching through the Derrick Broze Facebook page, through the Conscious Resistance Facebook page, through the Wake Up News Facebook page? Why do I have to continue to broadcast on Facebook to reach you? Why did I have to start a Facebook page just to run for a mayoral campaign? Well, because I wanted to reach people, right? And everybody's like, well, you can't do that if you're not on Facebook, because that's where all the people are. You can't have a business if you're not on Facebook, because so much of the world is on there. And people just accept the bullshit from Facebook, from Zuckerberg, from the censorship. And a lot of people don't even realize it's happening. A lot of people don't even realize that purges started happening in Facebook back in 2017, and that on October 2018, there was a big purge that deleted 500 Facebook pages, including the biggest Facebook pages like the Anti-Media, the Free Thought Project, and others that I was writing for. And we have slowly been crippled more over time. And now we're at the point, where they are just deleting people off these platforms, and we're barely existing. Dan Dix and David Icke and Max Egan and Del Bigtree and so many others that I can't think of right now. Whether you agree with all of them or not, the point is that they're still out there producing content, but they're reaching a lot less people on BitChute and on Library and on Minds and on whatever else they're using. In some cases, they are still reaching a lot of people, but not nearly as much as they were on YouTube. And the one reason why I'm still on Facebook, even though I know everything I just told you guys and it goes against my principles, is because of you, because you're there, because I know that so many people are there that if I just cut myself out from there, this audience would probably be half the amount of people spread throughout these networks that are watching right now if I wasn't on Facebook. And I reach more normies on Facebook than I do on Twitter or on YouTube or on Minds or Float and these other already awakened platforms. And I'm trying to come across that random person who sees this video shared from a friend and decides, I'm going to listen to this crazy guy and see what he has to say. And then they discover my work, and then they start looking into the documentaries, and they start reading the books, and they start questioning things around them, and their path begins, or at least we're some part of their journey. That's what I'm working towards. I don't want to just preach to the choir. I appreciate all of you who understand what's going on, but I need you to spread this information. So please share my articles, share the videos, visit our website, check out the books, download them for free. If you like them, share with them with your friends, share our documentaries. There's so many ways you can contribute and be a part of this. This isn't a passive game. This is not conspiratainment, infotainment. This is the world. And if we don't do anything, if we don't actually take action, shit is going to get worse. So if you care about what's going on, if you see the dark winter and the second wave and all these things on the horizon, get prepared, take care of your family, start building freedom cells, unplug from the systems, know that we can build a better world, and that anything we choose to do is possible. It's just going to take a little bit of effort, and it's going to take us committing ourselves to it. So we have to take that opportunity and say, I commit to this. I commit to a better world. I commit to a better opportunity and a better time and place. And so that's a connection that each of us have to choose to make, right? So how you go about that is up to you. But I know it's possible. I know it's possible for all of us